Hi folks, thanks for coming. I'm Dr. John DiMarco. I'm a professor over at St. John's University for my day job. I've been there for 20 years. But when I hit my 40s, I was sore all the time. I couldn't walk a golf course, I couldn't play basketball with my sons, I couldn't do a lot of things, so I started to get interested in stretching. And when I was younger, I was a martial artist, so I was always wondering why the older gentlemen, I was 16, why they had to show up an hour early for class to stretch. And then when I hit my 40s, I realized that I was feeling the same thing. So I'm a designer by trade, so what I did was I actually experimented with stretching, and what I found was that there really wasn't anything out there for assisted stretching that could help me the way I wanted to be helped. So straps, has anybody ever stretched with a green strap? Right? Green straps are great. The problem is that they use resistance. They use tension. And when you stretch, the goal is to be what? Relaxed. So what I did was I set out to create something new that allowed you to do assisted stretching, but instead of using resistance, used leverage. Just like when you go to the physical therapist and they take your leg and they manipulate it. Or if anybody's ever gone to Stretch Lab and gotten a professional stretch, they just opened one up. That's assisted stretching, but that's a human being. So I looked into that and I said, you know what, I can't be spending $140 every time I want to go get stretched by somebody. So I set off on a journey and I started to create this bar, and I ended up creating the ShapeStretch bar and method. And I received a patent on the bar, and I trademarked the name, and I proceeded to go and look for every single person that could help me validate this. So Dr. Sakura over in Massapequa over there, in the next to the firehouse, the PT place, had it tested at Orland and Cohen, tested it with the St. John's medical team, the training staff. Worked with the gym teacher at Massapequa High School. Worked with my friend who got a hip replacement. I did a bunch of things and ended up going down this rabbit hole and realizing after a bunch of validation that I had something kind of interesting. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to just educate you a little bit briefly on stretching, because you probably know a lot about it because you're athletes and you stretch a lot, and then show you how to use this, and then we're going to do a session where we're going to actually go through these different stretches. So the difference between using a strap and using something like this is the bar itself is steel, but it's extremely lightweight. So if you want to pass it down, it weighs less than 3 pounds, but it's made of carbon steel, so it's super strong. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to exercise from 5 different positions, which you can't really do with a strap. So what's the first stretch you learn as a human being? Wake up and touch your toes, right? Well, when I started, I was like this, and now I can do this, and I'm going to be 56 in a month. So it's helped me a lot. But it allows you to do things that you wouldn't be able to do. So some folks can't go down all the way. They can't reach. So what this allows you to do is it creates a base for you to stretch, and then as you get more flexible, you can work your way down. But what it allows you to do is it gives you stability so that you don't lose your balance, because that's one of the main ways that we can get hurt is we lose our balance. So it's very stable. It also allows you to do things that would extend your stretching ability. So for example, if I was laying with a strap here, I would take that strap and I would be pulling and holding this. Well, with the bar, it's effortless because we designed it to be based on leverage. So if you notice, there's 2 sides to it. One's a 90 and one's a 45. So I'm 5'9", so I use this side. But I wanted to create it for everybody, so if you were 6'9", you could use this side. So it allows you to now stretch in many different ways. But the beauty of it is that you can do the 3 different types of stretches: static, active, and dynamic, and you can do them pretty easily. So for example, a static stretch would be something that we would do for recovery, and that would be a hold. So I can hold here, and another thing that it allows you to do, if you guys, can anybody notice what it's doing with my leg by using the bar? It's giving me perfect what? Alignment. So it allows you to center your body in a way so that you can also do manipulations, and now you can listen to your body. So the beauty of this is that we could do a static stretch, or we could do an active stretch where we stretch for 2 seconds, come back, contract. I don't know if anybody's ever done that at PT. Another stretch is the dynamic stretch, which is where we use fluid motion. So now we can move around very slowly and look for tissue, and once you feel it, you know it's there, and now we can stretch. It also allows you to do manipulation. So from here I can go right from the hamstring to the hip. I can go right from there to the groin. So it allows you to do a bunch of things, and again, it's light and it's ergonomically created to allow you to do that. Sitting stretches. The ability to just sit down and stretch is very easy, because now I don't have to grab. I can just hold the bar, and now I can just bring my body into it. Nice and slow. So it allows me to do that. If I want to manipulate and pull calves back, I can do that as well. If I wanted to go to a single leg, I can do that. And then we've got these kneeling stretches, which are kind of cool. So, anybody do yoga here? Can you do a camel pose? Yeah, I can't either. But I can do a camel pose by using this assisted bar. So now I can get back into this pose, and if I do it enough with the assistance, hopefully eventually I can do it without the assistance. And that's the idea, because flexibility is on a continuum. Everybody in here has a different flexibility level, and that changes based on different factors. How active are you? How sedentary are you? How old are you? How well are you? So there's various things that can affect it, but what we know about stretching is that it increases blood flow, it creates flexibility, which aids mobility. So what's the difference? Flexibility is the ability for the ligament to be stretched. So this is flexibility. Mobility is movement. So this would be mobility. You can't have mobility, well, good mobility, without good flexibility. That's where it becomes so important. So we've got these kneeling stretches, things like this, where you don't have to worry about falling over. And then you can do manipulations. So if you're feeling like you want to get over here, you can do that. You can't do any of this with a strap. And that's the advantage. And then we have the lunge stretches. So doing a good deep lunge sometimes is difficult. But now I've got the stability to get me to be able to do it. And then this thing is strong, so I can push up and I'm not worried that I'm going to fall over. And it stops me from having to do the stretch and use the post or grab a thing. I can now use this anywhere. Switch up, use it for the calf. And then what we did was we tried to figure out how to adapt this to sports positions. So you're runners, so you'll use the basic core. But what we did was we tried to figure out how to emulate positions in sport and stretch for them. So if you were a basketball player, maybe you're doing a crossover dribble, now you can use the same muscles as you do for this crossover dribble and stretch. If you're a baseball player and you're going to be a catcher and you have to work on stretching to become a catcher, now this bar can help you. And it's strong enough. Again, they're very strong, so you're not going to use them for this, but they've got the ability to hold a few hundred pounds. And then we've got other stuff for golf. Pickleball, any pickleball players here? You're doing your side to side. So side to side, you can hold this here, and now this allows you to really get in and get stronger than if you were doing it on your own. And obviously safer, because you can grab this in various positions. So that's the product. We put together a little mat that shows you the exercises. I've been in research and development for 7 years on it. It's been a side project, but it got validated so much that I had to make them. So they're made right on Long Island. I stood in the factory as they came off, had to learn about metal, to learn all about it, and then I learned about stretching. So now I'm kind of bringing it to you, and I'm going to ask, does anybody have any questions? And then, those of you who have mats and want to do a session, we will come up and we will go through, and what I'll do is we're going to do a quick warm-up. Kim's going to warm us up, and I'm just going to come around and make sure everybody feels comfortable with how to use the bar. And then as I do it, Kim will go around and make sure everybody's okay and answer any questions. And if you don't, we don't want to feel pain. Stretching should be what's called a stretch sensation, right? Has anybody had? Of course you've had that. especially after a race, I'm sure, where it feels like it's just a release. So it should feel like you're stretching, but it shouldn't hurt. If it hurts, you stop immediately. And what's good about this is that it lets you listen to your body. So when you have a human being doing it, you remember when I used to take karate, we would go up against a wall, and you'd lean against the wall, and somebody would take your leg and try to push it to the wall. And if they went too far, you'd do that to make sure they didn't rip your hamstring. But a couple people got their hamstrings ripped because that person can't feel what's going on. So this allows us to do this. Anybody have any questions or comments? The beauty of this too is that you can stretch on the couch. You can stretch in bed. So I leave this next to the couch. When a commercial comes on, I do 30 seconds of stretching. And then when I go to sleep, I'm nice and relaxed because I've kind of gotten rid of that. So go get your mats, and then those of you who have mats, why don't you come out, pick a station, and we'll get started with the warm-up.